Good morning. I'm just coming on a few minutes before we start, right at 9, just to enter a question here for those of you that are able to join the chat or interested to join the chat. The question is what maybe there was an event, a certain happening. It could be what's happening now in the world. It could be sometimes like one kind of shocking awakening thing, or a time in your life, a health crisis that caused you a sense of spiritual urgency, a sense of action, a sense of call to not waste any more time feeding our delusions. So I'll see if how am I going to type that out in a short question. Good morning, good morning, good morning. Hi, lovely. Was there an event or time that you feel like sharing, you might not, caused you to feel a sense of spiritual urgency, which is what we're talking about today. There we go. So just as folks are coming online, if you feel like answering that question, please feel free to. Yeah. Hi, good morning. So nice. Yes. So if there's... Oh, good morning. Is that you, Patty? So nice. This is so fun for me. It feels like a reunion. Yeah, so if anybody wishes to say a few words about a time in your life where you've had this kind of a sense of waking up and urgency, then feel free to add that into the chat. All right. That's probably not a thing you're supposed to do on YouTube's. Good morning. Yes, the sun is out. I can't see it in here, but it's out there. Good morning, Monty. Yay. Oh, makes me miss hugs when I see folks come on here. Oh, yeah. Thank you, Kathy. That's someone has shared here. One that comes to mind, that brought a sense of spiritual urgency and awakening, was a plane crash in their community with friends lost and the community shattered. Blakey, lovely to see you. Yes, Zach, I had a lovely day yesterday. Thank you. All right, so it's 9 o'clock. Good morning, folks. I'll just start with this little saying that I say. That I have this by my bed. This is something I say in the morning. Sometimes, if I'm in a rush and get out of bed without pausing, I miss it. And on the other side is something I say in the evening. And you can say it has tea stains on it and is well loved. I'll have to make a new one. But the morning one says this, waking this morning, I smile. A brand new day is before me. I aspire to live each moment mindfully and to look upon all beings with the eyes of kindness and compassion. May I and all beings be happy and free from suffering. So it's so great to start your day before you get out of bed with intention. Good morning, Linda. Great to see you. And so when I remember, that's one that I use to try to set my intention and start my day with this sense of awakening. So welcome. This is True North Insights. You know that already. You're on here, but our YouTube channel, which is in the top 10 of Forbes list, which is so fun. And True North Insight, when it's not a time of pandemic, offers meditation retreats in Vipassana Insight Meditation in Canada, and courses and trainings, mentorships, and individual support to folks. And I am Jill Davey, one of the Dharma teachers with True North Insight. and today, and Zach was alluding to this in his comment, but today is the first day of my 60th year. That's a fun way of saying it was my 59th birthday yesterday. But I was reflecting, feeling 60's coming, that really today, and then each day this year is like the first day of my 60th year of life in this thing that I call me. And, tomorrow will be the second day of my 60th year of this life. And of course, 60 is like one of the numbers that feels big to me. And it may not to you, but there's everyone kind of has different birthday markers that really stand out for them. And 60 feels like it's something. I'm not sure what, but I do like the idea of being intentional about noticing that. Thank you. And yeah, so this idea, this just a thought, is of course, time and numbers are quite arbitrary markings, but it being what it is, it still feels quite an awareness, and a bizarre one at that. Yeah, of aging. And so this brings this topic of Samvega. It's called spiritual urgency. As just an awareness that time is finite, and this body is so finite, very changing daily. And I love just watching gravity. No, I don't love it. I'm amused by it. I can't say it's very pleasant, but of how everything is just it's going down, down, down with age. And it's quite amusing to watch that happening and to try to reconcile with this. And so this sense of urgency of time being limited is important to pay attention to. And another reason why I have a strong sensation of spiritual urgency, the word is Samvega in Pali. Pali is the language the teachings are first written down in the teachings from the Buddha, and is of course this pandemic that we're living in right now. And you know, and just yesterday, I think, you know, that in Ontario, anyways, the talking about starting to open things up again in the economy and all this gradual stuff. And this really brings a lot of, I've been having a lot of conversations with my partner and with friends about not wanting to go back to business as usual. Good morning, Geeti, and thanks for being here. And not wanting to, yeah, having lots of conversations about the kind of what's next, and not wanting to just out of habit falling back into the busyness and the overconsumption that was characteristic for me before this physical isolation and stopping. And so I feel like, you know, as this time is, you know, they're talking about this moving out of pandemic and back into, you know, I'm afraid that when I get this green light of, everything's open again, off you go, I do not want to totally ramp up again. So this is bringing about this sense of being wary of greed, hatred, and delusion, and how habitual they are, and how much momentum that can have in my being and perhaps in yours. And also this pandemic has brought a lot of conversations and awareness and change, although it may be temporary, and these are part of these conversations, hopefully not temporary, of to the environmental devastation, environmental catastrophe that is happening, and how it is possible for us to stop all the things that we thought are not possible to stop. And you know, in the post upcoming to this talk, I posted a picture of a clock with the hands almost at midnight. And so you may be aware of what's called the doomsday clock. If you're not, you could look that up. Doomsday clock. Now they don't talk about it being minutes to midnight, doomsday, but this clock is currently set at 100 seconds to midnight. 100 seconds to midnight. Now, if that doesn't bring a sense of spiritual urgency and need to awaken, what possibly could? Now, I know that for some folks, that brings a sense of overwhelm and collapse and numbness. And that is not what spiritual urgency feels like. Spiritual urgency has the sense of urge to it, of brings the urge to action. It brings energizing, to acknowledge the truth without collapsing into despair or collapsing into over agitation, which is definitely happening globally, culturally. And so this practice, Samvega, is to turn towards what is happening and not run away from it. And so it's important for us to look at when we think about, when we realize, when we awaken to spiritual urgency, kind of what is our default? What's our default habit, especially in relationship to fear and overwhelm? Is there a tendency for greed, to want to get more? And, gosh, didn't we see this with the toilet paper hoarding? Still so bizarre to me, but anyways, not just that, all the hoarding that came in response when the pandemic started to be known. And greed was the default reflex for lots of folks of, I need to get what I need and protect it, and at the expense of frontline workers that also were more in need of gloves and masks and all the things. So, what is it for us when we feel a sense of overwhelm or fear? Is it like eat more, shop more, drink more, binge watch more Netflix? Is there that sense of that's our comfort reflex? Or is it aversion, anger, hatred, blame, judgment? Is that our default of, pointing at others as being the problem and feeding, stoking our minds and our words and our actions with a lot of negativity and a lot of blaming? We certainly saw this in terms of racism. We see this in terms of blaming others and all of that is showing up and has been showing up. But for us personally, how might that show up in terms of blaming certain politicians, or just being sharp to anger? And then the third kind of default way that our reactivity might show up could be delusion or denial. And there's, of course, lots of climate, I know my face, I can't control it, climate deniers that, I'm speechless there. And that's their way of coping, and is to pretend it's not happening, and to all of that. So another way we can fall into that personally, that sense of delusion or denial, is again just numbing out with whatever things we use to numb out with. Kind of pull the blanket over our head and pretend that things are not as they are, and that's another way of So to, as I was asking the question at the beginning of the chat here, what sometimes there's an event that happens for us, or a time where we really feel this sense of urgency to awaken to how things are, and to be called into action. And I know for a dear friend of mine that, is seeing the, what's the word, epidemic of animal abuse and the consumption and speciesism of animal consumption, brought a great sense of spiritual urgency and called them to really speak out and act on that. And for me, my first meditation retreat, oh gosh, how long ago? And it was a 10-day silent meditation retreat, and I did not have did I have any practice before then? No, I don't think I did. I had a yoga practice, not a meditation practice. And so I did not know what I was in for. And it was not how True North Insight teaches retreats. It was a different retreat, although it was Vipassana, but it was very, very difficult and austere and controlled and harsh. And long days, long sits, not much support. And I had an immense amount of physical pain and a great deal of mental pain and emotional pain of just all of a sudden dropping in and sitting down and nowhere to escape and no avoidance. So there was no delusion, there was no greed. And because, I couldn't, there was all the couldn'ts, all the there's no phones, of course, and nowhere else to go and no one to talk to and take it out on somebody else and rant and all the ways of coping. And but there was still one of these 3 root defilements available to me, which was anger and hatred, and that is what arose big time, like on day 4 of this 10-day retreat. And there was a really long sit. I was already in so much pain. And when the bell rang at the end of that sit, first I felt great relief that it was over. I was counting the minutes. It was an hour and a half sit, which is whatever, without getting up and walking in between. It was too long. And and then I just was, at first there were tears, relief, then tears, and then anger. Whoa, unbelievable. And because there was nowhere to dissipate that, there was nowhere to, I couldn't eat it, suppress it. I couldn't drink alcohol. I couldn't bitch at somebody else. And so it just grew and grew and grew inside of me, because it grew and grew and grew, of course, because I was fueling it hardcore with my mind. I was just throwing kerosene on the flames with my mind, like, why is it like this, and who are they, and what is this, and why did I do that to myself, and this is blah. Just went on and on and on. And maybe you're experiencing that in this time of the pandemic or other times in your life where you just go on and on. Why is it like this? And why are they? And why am I? This is just pouring gas on it. So I did this kind of pacing around in this little area where, you couldn't go past a certain line drawn in the sand, basically. And it got really intense, and I went back to my room and laid on the bed, and the mind just exploded with, it really got what I would now call hell realms of thoughts that were really violent and hateful and terrible. And it went, because there was nowhere to distract myself, it went as far as it could go, went all the way, as far as you could take that in your mind. And at some point, thank Siddhartha Gautama, that it broke like a spotlight coming on in a dark cave, like a balloon breaking, a bubble popping. It just broke. The thought arose, I'm creating this hell realm. I'm creating this pain. All they said was sit down and shut up. I mean, they had a lot of other rules too, but really all of the very, very painful part was all me, all my doing. And since then, I've been hardcore on this path of practice and study and teaching, and with great deal of spiritual urgency. And now this is the first day of my 60th year, so there's more. So here's a poem from, yes, you're right, Rosemary Watola Trummer, called The Most Important Thing. I did put the link down below of this video. And I didn't write down the date when she wrote this, but it's the subtitle is called Communicating in the Time of Coronavirus, so it's obviously recent. Just 2 weeks ago, it was sufficient to say, hello, good morning, goodbye. But now, in every text, every email, every phone call, I tell my friends and family how much I love them. I love you. I tell them life is better because they are in it. I say it with the urgency of a woman who knows she could die, who knows this communication could be our last. I slip bouquets into my voice. I weave love songs into the spaces between words. I infuse every letter, every comma with prayers. Sometimes it makes me cry. Not out of fear, but because the love is so strong. How humbling to feel it undiluted, shining like rocks in the desert after a rain, to know love as the most important thing, to remember this as I keep on living. Yeah, so this time in this poem is she's communicating how this time has brought this sense of urgency to tell each other we love each other, to tell each other how important we are to each other, to reach out and wake up. And I know many of you live daily with this sense of spiritual urgency, like really awakening each day, not knowing how much longer we have, how much longer you have to be here in this being on this planet. This is the other side of my little reflection card that I often read or recite to myself at the end of the day. The day is now ended. My life is shorter. Let me look carefully. What have I done? With all my heart, let me be diligent, engaging in the practice. Let me live deeply, free from my afflictions, aware of impermanence, so that life does not drift away without meaning. This keeps that spiritual urgency awake and alive for me. Is like, this day is ended. And you can do this with each breath. This breath has ended. That breath, that moment is not going to come again. And then sometimes, so far, we get the gift of this breath has begun. Another inhalation, another moment to awaken to right now. I know. See, you can see it. I get very, whoa. I get very riled up when I talk about Dharma. So the Buddha, of course, experienced this Samvega when he was Siddhartha Gautama, and experienced what are called the four divine messengers of aging, sickness, death, and the fourth one is a spiritual renunciant, an ascetic who had was living, had given up the householder life and renunciated all of that and was on their spiritual quest. And this is something that all of us have experienced and are experiencing, and perhaps largely, it starts for some of you, I know it starts really young, and it definitely comes in our teen years, our early 20s, this questioning, what is this about? What am I supposed to be doing here? What is the meaning? What is my purpose? These are Samvega questions, and very, very important questions. And this is how Siddhartha Gautama, who then became known as the Buddha, which means awakened one, is just an honorific title, experienced this urgency which called him to leave the householder life and to go on this quest of when he realized, me too, this being too is aging, is going to age, is aging, is going to become ill, and will die. And these are important reflections when they're done skillfully to help us energize and not waste a day, not waste a moment to meet our highest good for our well-being, for the well-being of all beings everywhere, and for the well-being of the earth. It wakes us up out of complacency, and it can bring a sense of shock. It can kind of be a shocking wake up, as Kathy shared in her example, was a very shocking event that happened in the community of this plane crash and loss of dear people in the community. Really brought that sense. Yeah. So time is going on. Let's see, what else do I want to share about that? And the what's it called? The youth of I was talking to Lee the other night about trying to remember what it was like to look at people who were 60 or 59 when I was young, and we know how our culture is ignorant and dismissive of the wisdom of our elders. And I certainly was that. Mm. But the delusion of youth is what I'm saying. How we can not really have a sense that me too, that I'm going to age so quickly and be sick and suffer and die. And so often, many people come to the practice because of these things. And that's why it just is so awesome when younger people, like Zach and Carrie that are on this video, that are awake already. That's amazing. Took me a long time. And it's one of the reasons why I love, and many of them are on this video as well, teaching at the senior center. We have a Sangha there that is so dear, a community of practitioners, because we live with this as aging folks of knowing time is precious and opportunity is lost. And so there's a great sincerity and energy in the practices. Yeah. We realize that because we are frail and inescapably mortal, we must make drastic changes to our priorities and values. And we must give weight to what really counts. That's a quote from Bhikkhu Bodhi. And as Mary Oliver says in one of her very well-known poems, which I don't know the name of right now, but it ends with the line, "What will you do with your one wild and precious life?" That's you could start your day with that line, end your day with that. What have I done with my one wild and precious life? What am I going to do with my one wild and precious life? Morning and evening, take this up as a practice. Really encourage yourself to this sense of urgency. It is a gift. It is a gift. These are called heavenly messengers, divine messengers, because they awaken us. There's another sutta teaching that are called the 5 daily reflections. And these are reflections that the Buddha said, 5 facts that one should reflect on often, whether one is a lay person or ordained. And the reflections are, I am subject to aging, I am subject to illness, I am subject to death. It's awkwardly worded, but I will grow different, separate from all that is dear and appealing to me, so that all that is dear and appealing to me, I will be separated from. All that I want to keep, all those that I love and I want to keep, my own wellness that I want to keep, all that is dear and appealing to me, I will be separated from, because we can't cling, we can't keep anything. It's all impermanent. And the 5th one is, I am owner of my actions, my karma. Karma in Pali is kama, Kamma, and means that I am the owner of, all of my actions, thoughts, speech, matters and has an effect. And So these are 5 daily reflections that are recommended every day. Reflect on this. So think about what are your reflections. And I know some of you already have this practice that you really want to, don't skip a day. Okay, so practice. Another poem, and then we practice. This poem from Rosemary Watola Tromer, links down below. I can't help it. She writes poems for every topic I want to teach about. This one's called Urgency. What? Thank you, Rosemary. Urgency. Again, the urge to bring gauze to the broken world, and medicine and plaster cast. Again, the urge to fix things, to heal them, to make them right. Again, the chance to do the work, which is to look in, to touch the pain, but not become it, to see the world exactly as it is, and still write it a love letter, to meet what is cracked with clarity, to mirror and grow whatever beauty we find. Mic drop. Amazing. What? So here, of course, the poem is called Urgency, and it's so clear. We're all feeling this urge to heal the broken world, to bring gauze. We know it can't be healed to anything of how it was, and many will say that it can't be healed. And I'm not at that place of, I still feel a sense of I have to do whatever I can every day. But the work here is to look in, to touch the pain but not become it, to see the world exactly as it is, and still write it a love letter. The links for her poems are down below the video, Rosemary Watola Tromer, but I will type it here as well. Watola Tromer. And everything. She's on Facebook and is reading a poem every day for Poetry Month, which is April. And she has lots of online retreats and teachings and stuff too. In fact, there's one later today that I'll be joining. So practice, let's practice. Okay. Relax and wake up. I hope you feel, it's good. Maybe you feel a little jittery, a little excited, a little energized from this talk. I hope so. And so use that for your practice right now. Often we practice like really calming the body and relaxing. And this morning, I think it's okay to just, if this is present for you, the sense of urgency, samvega, let that be known. Where do you feel that in the body? How do you feel that if it's showing for you? It may be, a little bit of tension or a little bit of vibration. And see what is charged for you. Is it in the belly? Is it in the heart, in your hands, in your jaw, your eyes? This samvega might also just be felt for me, this is how it is in the body, but it may be felt like in a really calm way for you, but a very strong sense of the heart being stirred or touched. A real sense of compassion exuding and emanating from you. Compassion for yourself, for the suffering of others, for the world. And this can be a sign of this Samvega. So feel whatever sensations are present for you right now in the body. And how does this sense of urgency show up for you? And now, as we often begin our practice, to connect this to your intention right now to awaken, to be compassionate. And as one of my teachers often said and is taught in Zen practice, life and death are of supreme importance. Time passes quickly and opportunity is lost. Let us awaken. Awaken. I will not squander my life. Feel into your intention for this moment, this day, and your life. And then bring that intention to meet with your breath. The sensation of your breath arising and passing. Each one will not be known ever again. Each breath is rising and passing on its own, as long as this body has the capacity to receive and release. Allow that awareness to really keep you bright, awake, awake, awake with each breath. Perhaps allow your being to feel touched by the blessing of the inhalation. You have another moment, another breath here. You come into this body, into this world on an inhalation. Each moment is the same. And we will leave this body and this world on an exhalation. Each moment can be awake to that. This moment has arisen, had its life. This breath has arisen, had its life, and passed. Without fear or contraction or numbing, just awake. And when you notice your attention has moved into desire for some other thought, or desire to do something else, some movement or multitask, when you notice your attention has moved into thoughts of aversion, not liking, or boredom, or uh, not wanting what is right now, or any time when you notice the mind has moved into delusion, falling asleep or wandering off into fantasy, then awaken and begin again. This breath, awaken. This breath, awaken. With each breath, we practice letting go. With each exhalation. And with each inhalation, we practice waking up. Life and death are of supreme importance. Time passes quickly and opportunity is lost. Let us awaken. Awaken. I will not squander my life. So, I climbed down from my pedestal. And yeah, so down below there, it depends on what device you're watching on, but there's like a little arrow that says more, and there's links there, and that's where I've linked these two poems from Rosemary. And also you'll see a link to support True North Insight and this work that we're offering online. And when this is the physical isolation is lifted, we'll be back teaching retreats in person. Yes. And having our sanghas and sittings together. But of course, I think a lot of these online teachings will continue as well. And there's also a link to support me, as this is my work now, offering these online. Also, I support people individually, like by phone or video. If you are new to practice, or you have been practicing for a long time but have questions about your practice, or how to practice, please be in touch or message any of the teachers on True North Insight and see if someone is available to support you. So this invocation from Rosemary in her urgency poem, to meet what is cracked with clarity. Please take take the wool from your eyes or something? Yeah, wake up. Yeah, right on. To meet what is cracked with clarity, and then to mirror and grow whatever beauty we find. So both. We can't turn away. We can't turn away. We cannot turn away. And also, don't turn away from the beauty. We have to look for the beauty, to mirror it and grow it, wherever we find. It's only up to us. It's only up to those of us who are on a path of compassion and wisdom and awakening. It is up to us. Oh boy, settle down, Jill. Any other questions, comments? We have a few minutes. What is there anything you want to share about a time or how this is for you? Yeah, every breath is precious, every moment. Thank you, Marcus. Yes, Elena, today is the first day of my 60th year of life. So I'm starting my 60th year. I'm kind of going to do this as a practice this year. I have this intention. We'll see. But every day is like, I might do some writing each day about, what did I learn today of this second day of my 60th year, third day. And really, oh, what a great way to wake up. Of course, I'm open to any other suggestions for topics. This one really tied in with, kind of how we were talking about faith. I was talking about faith and we were chatting together about faith on Wednesday night and what the Buddha taught about faith on this path. And Samvega is very much a part of faith, of that practice of bright faith and verifying faith. And so, and it also really relates to intention, which is one of the other talks that I gave, maybe last Saturday or I don't know when. And the right efforts, the 4 right efforts, which are also part of the video series. So if you missed these, of course, it really does help us, to do the sharing thing. If you found a talk helpful, it's so helpful to True North Insight and maybe to others, hopefully, to share these and, to click like below and all those things. It does make a difference. Please follow True North Insight page on Facebook if you're on Facebook, I call it. That's helpful. I'm also on my website posting these videos, my website, River Sound Retreat. So thank you for your support. Lots of ways that folks are offering support to True North Insight and to myself, and it is deeply appreciated and felt. Thank you. I'll be back Wednesday night, 7:30. Yes, 7:30. Let us awaken. Let us awaken. Yeah. Thank you, dear ones. Be well and keep practicing. Bye.